Discover how true freedom lives within your daily life, not in escape. This moment holds the key to liberation. No need to search elsewhere. Gently invite yourself to meet life as it is, unburdening what no longer serves you. Share in the comments where you're sitting, what time it is now, and one thing you're releasing today. Let this simple practice soften your heart. Now, settle into the present moment awareness. As you settle into this space, let the gentle rhythm of your breath guide you. Freedom begins when you stop chasing the future or clinging to the past. It starts right here, right now. In the quiet space between thoughts, your breath is always here to anchor you, a steady, natural rhythm that never leaves you, even when the mind races. Notice how it flows in and out, effortless and constant, a silent reminder that you are already present. This is not about forcing calm, but simply allowing awareness to rest in what is, without adding words or judgment. Imagine a monk sitting in a simple room, drinking tea. He is not thinking about the next meeting, nor regretting the last one. He feels the warmth of the cup in his hands, the steam rising, the slight bitterness of the tea on his tongue. He simply drinks, without labeling it as good or bad, without needing it to be different. This is the heart of presence. The tea is just tea, the steam just steam, the warmth just warmth. There is no past to regret, no future to plan. The monk is fully here, in the ordinary act of drinking, and in that simplicity, there is no struggle. Now, bring this to your own moment. For the next 60 seconds, notice one sensory detail without naming it or judging it. Perhaps it is the coolness of the air on your skin, the distant hum of a car, the soft texture of your clothing, or the sound of a bird outside. Simply observe it as it is, without the mind adding, "This is nice," or "This is annoying." Let the detail exist in its own right, free from your story. If thoughts arise about the past, the future, or how you should be doing this, gently return to the sensation. Your breath can be your anchor again, a quiet return to the now. This practice is not about achieving stillness, but about discovering that stillness has always been here, beneath the surface of thought. You may find it simple at first, or you may find it challenging. That's okay. The challenge isn't the practice, it's the mind's habit of wandering. Each time you notice the breath or the sensory detail, you are gently releasing the grip of time. You are stepping off the treadmill of what if and what was, and stepping into the solid ground of what is. This is not passive waiting, it is active, vibrant engagement with life as it unfolds. In this moment, there is no need to escape, because you are already whole. The freedom you seek is not out there. It is the very awareness that notices the breath, the air, the sound, the stillness. This quiet awareness naturally reveals how thoughts shape our experience. When you stop naming and labeling, you see thoughts as passing clouds, not as the sky itself. You begin to notice how a single thought can color an entire day, or how a simple shift in focus can transform what feels like a burden into something neutral, even peaceful. The mind is not the enemy, it is a tool. But when you are caught in its current, you miss the river. Here, in this moment of pure noticing, you step back and see the water flow. This awareness naturally reveals how thoughts shape our experience. As we sit in this moment, notice how the gentle invitation to soften and release has already begun to unfold within you. You are already present, not escaping, but fully here. Now, let us deepen this presence by turning our attention to the very fabric of thought itself. Thoughts arise naturally, like ripples on a still pond, yet we often mistake these ripples for the pond itself. We believe the thought defines us, saying, "I'm anxious" or "I'm angry," as if the feeling is the unchanging essence of who we are. This is the subtle trap that binds us to suffering. True freedom begins when we simply notice the difference between the thought and the awareness that holds it. It is not "I am anxious," but "I'm having an anxious thought." The thought is a passing weather pattern, the sky of your being, your deep, quiet awareness remains vast and unchanged. Imagine a monk sitting by a river. The water flows swiftly, carrying leaves and branches. The monk does not chase the leaves, nor does he believe the river is defined by the debris it carries. He simply observes the flow, the leaves moving through the water without grasping or rejecting. The leaves are the thoughts, the river is the mind's natural movement. The monk is the still awareness observing both. He does not say, "I'm a leaf" or "I am the river." He simply knows the leaf is there, moves on, and returns to the stillness. This is the essence of non-judgmental observation. Thoughts come and go, like birds flying across the sky. We do not need to become the bird or chase the bird. We simply see the bird's flight against the open sky of our awareness. So, let us practice this simple yet profound shift. When a thought arises, perhaps a worry about the future or a memory of the past, do not follow it down the path. Instead, gently pause. Notice the thought without adding your story to it. Do not say "this thought is bad" or "I should not be thinking this." Simply recognize the thought's nature. If it feels like a worry, softly label it "thinking" within your mind. If it is a memory, "thinking." If it is a judgment, "thinking." This simple act of naming is not an effort to control the thought. It is a gentle acknowledgement that the thought is merely a thought, not a command or a truth about yourself. It is like stepping back from the riverbank to see the leaves floating by, knowing the water continues to flow beneath them. The thought is present, but you are not lost within it. You are the witness, the calm space that holds the thought without being defined by it. This practice dissolves the illusion that thoughts define us. When you say, "I'm having an anxious thought," instead of "I'm anxious," you create a space. That space is where freedom breathes. It is the space where the tightness of anxiety begins to soften, where the storm of thought loses its power to overwhelm. You realize the thought was never the whole story. It was only a passing cloud. The sky remains clear, vast, and unchanging. This is the bedrock of inner freedom we are building together. It is not about stopping thoughts, but about seeing them clearly for what they are, temporary weather in the boundless sky of your being. This simple practice dissolves the illusion that thoughts define us. Consider the ordinary moment of washing dishes. You stand before the sink, the water running, plates waiting. In the previous moments, we explored how freedom begins not by chasing some distant state, but by simply noticing the present moment as it is, without judgment or effort. We saw thoughts arise like clouds passing through the sky of awareness. Now we bring that same gentle attention to the very ground of daily life, where true freedom is not sought but discovered. The mundane is not a distraction from liberation. It is the very soil where freedom takes root. When you wash a dish with full presence, not as a chore to be endured, but as a practice of being, the act itself becomes liberation. The water's cool touch, the sound of rinsing, the feel of the soap, the sight of the clean surface, all these sensations become the entire world, holding no space for worry or desire. This is not about doing the task faster or better. It is about being fully here, now, with nothing else required. The practice is simple. For 30 seconds, let the water's temperature be your only focus. Feel its warmth or coolness on your skin. Hear the clear sound of the water flowing over the plate. Notice the rhythm of the rinse, the way the bubbles form and disappear in that small space. The mind, which often races through the past or future, settles into the simple fact of this moment. There is no need to change anything, no need to judge the task as boring or tedious. You are simply present with the water, the sound, the movement of your hands. The dishes become a mirror reflecting the mind's natural state, quiet, clear, and free. This is not escape, it is arrival. It is realizing that freedom was never outside of this very action, this very sensation. The mind, conditioned to seek meaning in grand events, often overlooks the profound simplicity of the ordinary. Yet in the quiet act of washing a dish, without the story of "I'm doing this" or "this is boring," there is a deep release. The weight of should and must dissolves into the water's flow, You're not trying to become free. You are simply being free. Right here. In the cool water, the clear sound, the clean plate. This is the essence of inner freedom. It is not found in the absence of tasks, but in the presence within them. The mundane is not a barrier to peace. It is the path itself. As you feel the water's touch for these 30 seconds, let the ordinary become extraordinary, not through effort, but through simple, unhurried awareness. The dishes will still be washed, but the person washing them will be transformed. The mind, no longer chasing clouds, rests in the sky itself. This practice transforms the ordinary moment into a portal. It reveals that freedom is not something to be gained later, but something already present in the very act of living fully, right here, right now. The next step in this journey is to carry this awareness beyond the sink, into every ordinary moment, where the same freedom awaits. This is the true nature of inner freedom, cultivated not in retreat, but in the heart of daily life. As we move through the ordinary moments of daily life, the awareness cultivated in simple acts like washing dishes or breathing begins to soften the edges of decision-making. We often carry a heavy weight of expectation, seeking the perfect choice, the one that guarantees a desired outcome before we even take the first step. This seeking creates a knot within us, a tension that binds us to the future rather than freeing us to be fully present with what is. True inner freedom, however, is discovered not in the magnitude of the choice, but in the quality of our attention as we make it. Freedom lives in choosing without overthinking, in stepping forward with a light heart, not burdened by the need to prove the choice right or wrong. It is the quiet space between thought and action where clarity naturally arises. Consider the simple act of making tea. You stand before the kettle, the water heating, and a small question arises: should you add lemon or mint? In the ordinary mind, this might spiral into a quiet internal debate. Lemon is refreshing but might be too tart. Mint is calming but could be too strong. What if the lemon isn't fresh enough? What will others think? This overthinking pulls you away from the warmth of the kettle, the scent of the leaves, the simple pleasure of the moment. Now, imagine pausing, not searching for the perfect answer, but simply asking, what is the simplest next step? The answer might be as clear as the sound of the water whistling, or as simple as choosing mint because you have it in the cupboard. You make the choice, add the mint, and begin to pour the water. The decision is made, not because it was perfect, but because it was simple, present, and free from the need to seek external validation. The tea is made, the moment is fully lived, and the knot of anxiety dissolves into the quiet flow of action. This is the practice. It is not about making grand, life-altering decisions. It is about the small, ordinary choices that shape our days, which path to take on a short walk, what to say to a friend, how to respond to a minor frustration. It is about noticing the urge to seek approval from others, from a book, from a past success, and consciously letting it go. It is about making one small decision today without asking, will this be right? Will they approve? Instead, ask only what is the simplest next step. Then, take it. Feel the lightness that comes with releasing the burden of the future. Feel the clarity that arises when you are no longer wrestling with possibilities, but simply engaging with the present moment, with the choice you are making right now. Your breath is your anchor, the immediate task your guide. There is no need to consult the future. The simplest next step is always within reach, waiting to be taken with a clear mind. This quiet practice of simplicity in decision-making reveals a profound truth. When we stop seeking the perfect outcome and instead engage fully with the simplest step, we see how deeply we are bound by our attachment to that very outcome. The moment we release the need for the choice to be right or perfect, we step into freedom. We realize that the bondage was not in the choice itself, but in the heavy weight of expectation we carried with it. The simplicity we cultivate in each small decision is not just a technique, it is the very essence of inner freedom, showing us that liberation is found not in the destination, but in the unburdened step we take right now. This simplicity reveals how attachment to outcomes creates bondage. Imagine the quiet space between your thoughts, where the constant hum of what if begins to soften. We often carry invisible chains forged from tomorrow's anxieties, binding us to a future that exists only in our imagination. Worry is not a warning of what might come. It is a story we tell ourselves about a moment that has not yet happened. Notice the subtle shift within you when you drift into that what-if thought, a tightening in your shoulders, a slight catch in your breath, a subtle shift of energy. This physical response reveals the truth. We are already living in a story, not in the real, present moment. The future we fear is a phantom, and our bodies bear the weight of this phantom before it even arrives. Consider the simple act of preparing tea. You place the leaves in the pot, pour the water, and wait. In that waiting, the mind might leap ahead. What if the water is too hot? What if I spill it? What if this meeting goes badly later? You feel the familiar tension rise, a subtle clutching in your hands, a slight shortness in your breath. This is the moment the chain tightens. The Zen practice here is not to fight the worry, but to gently notice its presence without becoming its captive. It is not about pushing the thought away with force, but about recognizing it as a passing cloud. The key is to return, softly and without judgment, to the anchor of your breath. Feel the cool air entering your nostrils, the gentle rise of your chest, the natural rhythm of your body. This is the present moment, the only moment where life actually happens. Let the worry float by like a leaf on a stream, and return to the simple, grounding sensation of your breath. It is a small act, yet it is profound liberation. You are not the worry, you are the awareness that holds it and then releases it. This gentle return to the breath is not a technique to be mastered, but a natural reconnection with your own presence. When the mind grasps at future storms, the body remembers the calm of the present. You might find yourself noticing the warmth of the teacup, the quiet sound of the water, the steady beat of your heart beneath the surface of thought. Each time you choose to return to your breath, you're unraveling a knot in the chain of worry. You are not denying the future, but refusing to let it steal your peace. You are reclaiming the space that worry had stolen, the space where true freedom resides. This practice requires no special time or place. It happens in the ordinary moments we often rush through. It is the quiet act of choosing presence over projection, of accepting the simple reality of now over the imagined drama of later. As you practice this gentle return, you begin to see that the energy spent on future worries was never truly yours to give. It was borrowed from the present, from the very moments you could have been living. When you return to your breath, you are not losing the future. You are simply choosing to meet it from a place of calm, not chaos. The tension dissolves, the body relaxes, and the mind finds its natural clarity. This release makes space for the freedom found in accepting what is. Imagine standing by a quiet stream, watching the water flow without needing to compare its pace to the river upstream or the pond downstream. You simply are, moving with the natural rhythm of your own existence. Now consider how often we stand beside others, measuring our own steps against theirs, feeling our path shrink or our worth diminish as we look sideways instead of forward. Comparison is not a helpful guide. It is a thief, quietly stealing the unique beauty of your journey by making you believe you must walk someone else's path to be whole. Notice the subtle moment you find yourself thinking, "They have more," or "They are further along," and gently bring your attention back to the breath in your own chest, the ground beneath your feet. This noticing is not judgment. It is the first step toward freedom. In the Zen tradition, there is a story of two trees growing side by side in a forest. One tree is tall and straight, the other bent and twisted by the wind. The tall tree never once glanced at its neighbor, nor did the bent tree envy the height of the other. Each simply grew in its own way, reaching for the light as it was meant to, drawing nourishment from the soil that cradled its roots. They did not compare their forms, their strength, or their shadows. They simply were. Their freedom came from being fully present in their own nature, not from measuring against another. This is the wisdom we carry within us. Your path is not a copy of anyone else's. It is a unique unfolding, shaped by your own experiences, your own choices, your own moments of courage and quiet grace. So let us practice a simple, gentle shift. Close your eyes for just a moment, or soften your gaze to the space around you. Bring to mind one small, specific thing about your own journey that you can feel gratitude for right now. Not the big milestones, but the quiet, ordinary moments that have shaped you. Perhaps it is the way your hands feel when you plant a seed, the sound of your own laughter on a morning walk, the patience you showed a loved one yesterday, or even the simple fact that you are here, breathing, learning, and growing. Acknowledge it with warmth. Say to yourself, I am grateful for this moment of my path, or simply feel the quiet thankfulness in your heart. This is not about fixing or improving. It is about recognizing the inherent value of where you already stand. When we practice this, we begin to unravel the tight knot of comparison. We see that the freedom we seek is not found in the distance between us and others, but in the deep, quiet space of our own presence. We realize that others are not holding the key to our liberation. They are simply walking their own path, just as we are walking ours. This simple act of gratitude for our own unfolding dissolves the illusion that we are lacking, that we are behind, that we must become someone else to be worthy. It reveals the truth. Our freedom has always been here, in the simple act of being exactly as we are, right now. This gentle practice of noticing and honoring your own journey dismantles the very foundation of comparison. It shows us that the path we walk is not a race, but a unique expression of life itself, and that true freedom begins when we stop looking outward for validation and start seeing the beauty in the path we are already on. The next step, then, is to let go of the idea that others hold the key to our freedom, for we have been holding it all along. As you sit now, feel the gentle rise and fall of your breath. This moment, unburdened by tomorrow's worries or yesterday's regrets, holds a quiet truth. Notice the subtle tension that sometimes arises when reality doesn't match your expectations. That familiar tightness across your shoulders, the slight flutter in your chest, the quiet voice whispering this is not how it should be. This is the knot we've all tied around ourselves, a knot of resistance to what simply is. Zen teaches that suffering does not come from the circumstances themselves, but from our refusal to meet them. When we grip the present moment, saying it must be different, we create a prison with our own hands. The train is delayed. The conversation went poorly. The body aches. These events are neutral. It is our resistance that turns them into suffering. The key is not to force reality to change, but to change our relationship with it. Imagine standing at a train station, waiting for a delayed train. Your mind races with frustration. This shouldn't be happening. I should be somewhere else. Why does this always happen to me? You feel the tension in your jaw, the way your hands clench. This is the physical sensation of resistance, the body holding the story of what you believe should be. Now, instead of pushing against it, try this. Breathe into that tightness. Breathe into the frustration, the disappointment, the sense of things being wrong. Do not try to calm yourself or make the feeling disappear. Simply breathe and let the tension be. Feel the air moving through your lungs as you meet the discomfort without fighting it. The moment you stop saying "this is wrong," the knot begins to loosen. This is not passivity or resignation. It is active presence. It is meeting the world as it is, with open hands rather than clenched fists. When you notice that inner tug of "this should be different," pause. Feel the physical echo of that resistance in your body. Then, breathe. Let the breath flow through the tightness, not to erase it, but to acknowledge it. In that space, you are no longer fighting reality. You are simply here, with it. You might wonder, why breathe into discomfort instead of trying to fix it? Because the effort to change what is happening only adds another layer of struggle. When you breathe into the discomfort without judgment, you create space. In that space, the discomfort loses its power to define you. It becomes a sensation, not a prison. You realize you are not the event, not the feeling, but the awareness holding both. The frustration may still be there, but it no longer controls you. This practice is gentle, yet profound. It requires no special skill, only the willingness to turn toward what you've been avoiding. Try it now, as you sit. If you feel a tension in your chest, breathe into it. Let the breath soften the edges of resistance. Notice how the tightness softens, not because you forced it, but because you stopped fighting it. This is the path of acceptance. It is not about agreeing with everything, but about stopping the war inside. When you release the need for things to be other than they are, you discover a deep, quiet freedom. The resistance dissolves, not because the situation changes, but because you no longer add to it. This quiet acceptance becomes the fertile ground from which true transformation grows. It is the foundation upon which all genuine change is built. As you continue to breathe into the present moment, notice how this simple act of meeting reality as it is opens a door. The door to freedom is not found in changing the world, but in changing your relationship with it. And in that change, you find the freedom you've been seeking all along. Breathe. Be here. This is enough. Feel the heat rise in your chest, the tightness in your throat, the sudden rush of energy that feels like it might pull you under. This is not who you are. It is a current passing through you, a wave of feeling moving through the river of your being. For so long we have mistaken this passing energy for our very identity, binding ourselves to its turbulence. But freedom begins in the simple, profound act of noticing the space between the feeling and the reaction. Before the words fly, before the hands clench, before the story of why this happened to you begins, there is a pause, a breath, a moment of pure, unmarked space. This is where the chain breaks. Imagine walking home on a quiet street when a car suddenly cuts you off, horn blaring. Instantly, heat floods your face. Your jaw tightens, and the thought, "how rude," crashes through your mind. This is the feeling. Now, instead of letting the reaction take hold, pause, breathe. Simply name what is moving through you: anger, or fear, or surprise. Not "I am angry," but "anger is here." Say it softly, like acknowledging a guest who has arrived. The moment you name it, a space opens. The energy no longer feels like a cage. It becomes a current you can observe. You see the anger for what it is: heat, tension, a biological response, and not the whole story of your worth. The car is just a car. The driver is just a person. The feeling moves, and you remain steady, rooted in the ground of your own presence. This is not about suppressing emotion. It is about releasing the grip of reaction. Try it now, with whatever feeling is present in your body as you listen. Is it a flutter of anxiety? A dull ache of sadness? Feel it, name it simply, and breathe into the space that opens. Notice how the urgency lessens, how the tightness softens. You are not the storm. You are the calm sea beneath it. This naming practice is the gentle art of creating room. It is not about fixing the feeling, but about stepping back from the edge of the wave, allowing it to flow without pulling you under. The emotional reaction, whether sharp words, clenched fists, or a retreat into silence, always follows the feeling. But by naming the feeling, you create a pause. You break the automatic chain of suffering that says this feeling means I must act, must be harmed, must change myself. This small, deliberate pause is the very foundation of inner freedom. It is the space where you remember you are not defined by the wind that blows through your mind. You are the stillness beneath the wind. When you stop reacting to the feeling, you begin to see the feeling itself as a passing cloud, not the sky. The resistance that once held you captive, fear of being hurt, anger at the world, dissolves in the light of this simple awareness. You step out of the story the emotion tells and into the quiet knowing of who you truly are. Within this space, this breath of awareness between feeling and reaction, the deeper stillness reveals itself. The noise fades, and what remains is the unshakable calm of your own nature, clear as a mountain lake reflecting the moon. This is the freedom that comes from releasing the knots of reaction, not by fighting the wind, but by standing steady within the wind. It is here, in this quiet room created by simply naming the feeling, that you meet yourself, whole and unbroken, exactly as you are. This is the space where true nature is not hidden. It is revealed, always present, waiting for the storm to pass. We carry the weight of desire like a stone in our pocket. Unaware, it is our own hand that clutches it. This chapter reveals a deeper layer to the suffering we explored in the last. You learned that resistance to what is, not reality itself, causes pain. Now we see how desire actively builds that resistance. When we say, "I want this" or "I need that," we create a tension between our inner demand and the ever-changing nature of life. The flower must wilt. The cup must cool. The moment must pass. Desire meets impermanence, and that collision creates the sharp sting of suffering. It is not the reality of change that hurts, but the desperate struggle to hold it still. Notice the subtle tightness in your chest when you reach for something you believe will complete you. Feel the subtle strain in your mind as you wish the moment would linger. This tension is the very fabric of our perceived bondage. Consider the simple image of a single white flower on a windowsill. You admire its perfect bloom, and a quiet wish forms. I wish this beauty would stay like this forever. You hold that image tightly in your mind. Then, the next morning, you notice a petal has fallen. The desire for permanence meets the reality of change. The suffering arises not from the petal falling, but from the sharp pang of it should not have fallen. The flower was always meant to change. The suffering came from the unspoken demand that it not change. This is the root desire that refuses to meet life as it is. Now, bring this awareness to your own experience. Find a small desire that arises naturally, perhaps for a cup of tea, a moment of quiet, or a specific response from someone. Feel it stir within you. Instead of acting on it immediately, pause. Sit with the desire for just 5 minutes. Observe it as you would watch a cloud drift across the sky. Notice the shape of the wanting, the slight pull in your body, the story it begins to tell. Do not judge it. Do not try to push it away or feed it. Simply allow the desire to be there, fully present, without adding the layer of, "I must have it." Feel the space that opens when you stop fighting the feeling of wanting. You may notice the desire soften, or perhaps it intensifies for a moment. But the tightness begins to ease as you stop fueling it with resistance. This gentle observation, this not doing, is the practice. You are not suppressing desire. You are seeing it clearly for what it is, a natural movement within awareness, not a command that must be obeyed. In those 5 minutes, you touch the space where freedom lives. You see that the pain was never in the desire itself, but in the invisible hand that clutched it, refusing to let go. The tension dissolves when we stop fighting what is already passing. This insight reveals why non-attachment is liberation, not the absence of wanting, but the deep knowing that wanting is not who we are, and reality is always changing. When we release the demand, the illusion of bondage falls away, and we find ourselves simply resting within the flow of life, as naturally as the river flows to the sea. Imagine the monk preparing tea in the quiet garden. His hands move with steady rhythm, pouring hot water over the leaves, watching the steam rise. He feels the warmth of the cup, the scent of the leaves, the coolness of the stone table beneath his palms. He does not think, will this taste perfect? Or will they approve? His entire focus is in the action itself, the sound of the water, the careful angle of the pour, the quiet moment before the first sip. There is no waiting for a result, no measuring against an expectation. This is effort without the weight of outcome. It is the river flowing toward the sea without demanding to be called a river. This is the heart of non-attachment to outcomes. It is not about giving up effort or losing care. It is about seeing clearly that the moment of doing is already complete, already whole. When we say, I want to succeed, we create a tension between where we are and where we imagine we should be. We build a wall of expectation around the present moment. But when we say, I will do my best, we step out of that wall. We stand firmly in the ground of this very action, this very breath, this very cup of tea. There is no need to cling to the future because the action itself is the only thing that truly exists. The desire for approval, for a specific result, is the invisible chain we forge ourselves. It binds us not to the task, but to a story about the task, what it should be, what it might mean, what it will prove. Notice how often you check your work for signs of approval. Is it the email you send, the meal you prepare, the project you finish? You glance at the screen, wondering, will they like this? You hold your breath until you see the thumbs up. This checking is the moment of attachment. It is the point where effort turns into anxiety, where the present moment is sacrificed for a future judgment. The practice is simple. Complete a task without checking for approval. Write the email, then put the device away. Cook the meal, then sit down and eat it without thinking about the leftovers. Do the work, fully present in the doing, and let the result be as it will be. Feel the pen on the paper, the rhythm of your steps, the texture of the work itself. This is where freedom lives, not in the absence of effort, but in the absence of clinging to what comes after. The difference is profound. I want to succeed is a demand placed on life. a refusal to accept the present as it is. I will do my best is an offering made to life, a willingness to engage fully with what is. It dissolves the illusion that freedom depends on a particular outcome. When you wash the dishes, feel the water, the soap, the smoothness of the plates. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet, the air on your skin. The result, clean dishes. Arriving at your destination is simply the natural unfolding of the action, not the purpose of it. You are no longer a prisoner of what might be, but a participant in what is. This is how the invisible chains of expectation begin to loosen. When you stop measuring your effort against an imagined standard, you release the self that demands permanence in the fleeting. The river does not fight the sea, it flows into it with perfect ease. The tea monk does not wait for the tea to be perfect, he tastes it as it is. This is not resignation. It is a deep, quiet strength that comes from knowing you are already free within the act of living. It is the release of the story that says you must be something other than what you are right now. And as you let go of the need for the result, you discover that the freedom you sought was always here, in the space between effort and outcome, in the very act of being present. This releases the invisible chains of expectation. You know that tightness in your chest when the coffee spills, the traffic jams, or a conversation doesn't go as planned. That familiar knot is resistance, not the event itself. It's the moment we silently demand life be different, shouting inwardly, "This shouldn't be happening." This inner friction is the true source of suffering, not the spill or the delay. The spill is just water on the floor. The suffering comes from our refusal to let the water be water, our insistence that it must be something else. This resistance is the illusion of bondage we create, a cage built from our own unspoken demands. Consider the chef in a quiet kitchen, preparing a simple meal. A bowl slips from their hand, shattering on the stone floor. Instantly, a flash of frustration rises. Why now? This is the last thing I need. The natural reaction is to tense, to blame the floor, the bowl, or the moment. But the Zen way isn't to ignore the sound or pretend it didn't happen. It's to feel the frustration without letting it pull them into a story of injustice. They take a soft breath, notice the sound of the breaking ceramic, the coolness of the stone beneath their feet, and simply say to themselves, "Ah." The bowl broke. Then, without struggle, they gather the pieces, clean the spill, and continue chopping the vegetables. The moment hasn't changed, the resistance has dissolved. The water is still on the floor, but the tightness is gone. The action flows again, unburdened. This is the practice of living without resistance. It begins not with grand gestures, but with noticing the tiny moments when your mind says, "This shouldn't be," and gently pausing. The next time you feel that familiar tightening in your shoulders as a bus is late, or a colleague makes a comment you dislike, pause. Feel the sensation without adding judgment. Ask softly, what is this resistance asking me to hold on to? Is it the demand for things to be easier, or for others to act differently? Then, simply breathe into the moment as it is. Surrender the small frustration to the flow of this very moment. Don't fight the bus being late. Feel the weight of waiting, then let it go. Don't cling to the comment. Acknowledge the feeling and release the need for it to be otherwise. This isn't passivity, it's active, gentle presence. It's allowing the water to be water, the bowl to be broken, the moment to simply be. Notice how this small act of surrender, this one tiny release of resistance, feels like a lightening of the heart. It's not about fixing the situation, but about freeing yourself from the internal struggle against it. When you stop demanding that the coffee not spill, the spill becomes just a moment, not a catastrophe. The tightness loosens. The river of your life continues to flow, carrying you forward without the heavy weight of resistance holding you back. You don't lose care. You simply care without the burden of resistance. The action becomes clear, calm, and effortless because you're no longer fighting the current. This surrender of the small frustration to the flow of the moment is the quiet doorway. It opens gently, revealing that freedom is not found in controlling life's currents, but in the deep, quiet acceptance of the water itself. This surrender opens the door to effortless action. Have you ever felt trapped by your own story? The roles you play, the thoughts that define you, the narrative you carry like a heavy coat. This sense of being bound often comes not from outside circumstance, but from the deep-seated belief that you are your story. It is the illusion of a fixed self, clinging to what is temporary. To find true inner freedom, we must gently question this very identity. Who are you when the story dissolves? When the thoughts that shape your I fade like mist at dawn? This is not about losing yourself, but discovering the awareness that holds all stories without being defined by them. Notice the I that observes thoughts, not the thought itself, but the quiet space where the thought appears. When you feel anger rise, do you become the anger? Or is there a deeper presence that simply notices the anger passing through? When you hear the voice saying, "I'm tired," pause. Feel the subtle shift from "I'm tired" to "I notice tiredness." That noticing I is not the story. It is the clear space where the story happens. It is the river noticing the clouds passing above it, not becoming the clouds. Consider the Zen story of the monk walking beside a river. One day, he asked a fellow traveler, "What is your name?" The traveler replied, "I'm a merchant." The monk nodded and continued, later. When the traveler was asked the same question, he said, "I am a father." The monk said nothing. Finally, when the traveler was asked again, he said, "I am the river." The monk smiled. The river does not cling to being fast or slow, deep or shallow. It simply flows, aware of the path without being defined by it. Your thoughts, your roles, your past and future stories, they are like the river's changing currents, not the river itself. The river is always the river, even as the water moves. So, in your quiet moments, practice this gentle inquiry. Ask softly, "What am I without my current story?" Not seeking a new story, but resting in the space beneath the words. When you catch yourself saying, "I am overwhelmed," pause, breathe in, breathe out, and notice the space where the thought arose. Feel the quiet awareness that holds the thought without needing to be it. It is not about erasing your life, but seeing life through the lens of the observer. Notice how the I that is the observer feels more spacious, more free than the I that is the story. The story is a useful map, but the map is not the territory. The territory is awareness itself. This practice is not about achieving a new state of being. It is about seeing clearly that you are already the vast, open space that contains all experiences. The struggle to be this or that dissolves when you rest in the simple fact of noticing. You are not the story you tell yourself. You are the awareness that notices the telling. The sense of being trapped by your own identity begins to loosen, not through force, but through this simple, repeated observation. It is a gentle inquiry, not a battle. The I that observes thoughts is not bound by them. It is the very ground of freedom. This inquiry dissolves the illusion of a fixed self. It reveals that what we call self is not a thing to hold, but a space to be. The river flows without needing to be named, and so can you. The wind carries the leaf, not the leaf carrying the wind. It drifts downward, following its own path, neither resisting nor forcing its descent. This is the natural flow, simple and true. Now, in this moment, notice how your own mind might resist the changing weather outside your window, or how you tighten when your mood shifts unexpectedly. You might find yourself thinking, "This should not be this way," or "I should feel different." That subtle tension, that quiet push against what is the root of the struggle. Freedom does not come from making things stay, but from meeting the truth of change with an open heart. Everything is in motion, the seasons turning, thoughts arising and passing, the very breath moving through you. To see this clearly, without adding resistance, is to touch freedom directly. It is not about controlling the wind, but learning to move with it. Imagine a single leaf falling from a branch, Watch it as it spirals gently, caught by the breeze, landing softly on the earth. Do not try to stop it. Do not wish it stayed. Simply observe its path, its release, its quiet arrival. See how it does not fight the wind, does not cling to the branch. It simply is, moving through its own nature. This is the practice, not a grand effort, but a gentle noticing. When you feel a shift in your own energy, a sudden wave of sadness or a burst of excitement, pause. Feel the sensation in your body. Acknowledge the change without labeling it good or bad. Say to yourself, softly, "This is how it is now." Notice the resistance that might arise, the urge to push it away or hold it tight, and then gently release that grip. Let the feeling move through you as the leaf moves through the air. You are not the leaf, but you are the space that holds its falling. In that space, there is no struggle, only presence. This is not passive acceptance. It is active presence. It is the quiet courage to meet each moment as it truly is, without the heavy weight of what it should be. When you stop demanding that your mood remain steady, or that the weather stay calm, you uncover a deeper peace. You realize that your true nature is not the storm, but the calm awareness beneath it. The resistance fades, and what remains is simply being. This is the freedom found in the very flow of life. It is not a distant goal, but the simple act of meeting this breath, this thought, this moment as it unfolds. When you practice observing the falling leaf without interference, you begin to see that your resistance to change is the only thing that binds you. Let go of the need to control, and trust begins to bloom in the space where you once clenched. This acceptance transforms fear of change into trust. It reveals that the only true freedom is to flow, like the leaf, with the ever-turning current of life. Feel your breath settle with the quiet rhythm of the present moment. Notice how easily the mind can drift to yesterday, to a word spoken too harshly, a choice made too slowly, a path not taken. These thoughts are not facts but ghosts of what could have been, lingering in the shadows of memory. They carry a subtle, persistent weight, the physical sensation of that unspoken regret, the heavy knot in the chest when you whisper, "I should have." This weight is not your truth. It is the echo of a moment already past, a story you hold too tightly. Consider the Zen master who spilled tea on his robe. His student rushed to clean it, distraught over the mess. The master simply said, "The tea is spilled. Now, let us drink the next cup." He did not dwell on the spill, the fabric, the moment it happened. He met the spill as part of the flow, not as a reason to bind himself to the past. His awareness was not trapped in the should have of the spill, but free in the is of the present cup. Regrets do the opposite. They anchor us to the spill. making us blind to the next cup. Now, gently notice your own should-have thoughts. Where do they live in your body? Is it a tightness in the shoulders? A dull ache behind the eyes? A slow drag in the chest? Feel that weight. It is the energy of the past, held in your very being. To release it is not to forget, but to stop feeding the ghost. Try this simple practice. Take a sheet of paper. Write one regret clearly, simply, without judgment. I should have said no. I should have called. I should have stayed. Hold the paper. Feel the weight of those words in your hands. Now, find a safe way to release it. Light a candle. Place the paper on a small tray and watch it curl and vanish in the flame. As the paper turns to ash, feel the corresponding release in your body, the tightness easing, the weight lifting, the knot in your chest untying. This is not about erasing the past, but about freeing the present from its shadow. This act of burning the written regret is a symbol of a deeper truth. It is the moment when the energy trapped in the what-if finally flows again, unblocked by the ghost. The regret was never the problem. The clinging to it was. By releasing the paper, you release the energy that was bound to it. That energy, once stagnant in the past, is now free to move with the current of your life, to be used for what is here. What is now? The weight dissolves not with force, but with the simple, quiet act of letting go. The spill is gone. The next cup is waiting. The freedom you seek is not in avoiding the spill, but in drinking the next cup with open hands and an open heart. This release of energy trapped in the past is the very flow of inner freedom you have been learning to embrace. Imagine holding a cup of water, feeling its cool weight, the gentle curve of the ceramic against your palm. Now imagine trying to hold it still against a strong wind, your fingers tightening, muscles straining, the water spilling despite your effort. This is control, dear friend. It is not strength, but a desperate attempt to stop the natural flow of change, to freeze the river in its course. We clutch at plans, at outcomes, at the very idea of how others should be, and in that clutching, we feel the subtle, often unnoticed tension in our shoulders, the tightness in our chest. Notice it the next time you find yourself trying to direct someone else's path or fix a situation that simply cannot be fixed. Feel the resistance, the unspoken demand, the quiet war you wage against reality itself. This tension is the price of control. The very thing that binds us tighter to the illusion of permanence. Consider the ancient tree leaning in the wind. It does not fight the storm. It bends, its roots holding firm, but its branches yielding. It does not grasp for a fixed shape. It simply is, adapting within its nature. It does not fear the change of seasons, knowing each one brings its own necessary gift. The tree does not say, "I must control the wind to stay perfectly upright." It simply rests in the flow. It's being open to what is. This is not passivity, but profound presence. It is the freedom of knowing that the wind will come, the rain will fall, the sun will shine, and the tree will simply be there, moving with it, not against it. Now, gently turn your attention inward. Where in your day do you feel that familiar grip? Perhaps it is the need to schedule every minute, the desire for a specific outcome in a conversation, the mental rehearsal of how you think something should unfold. Find one small plan, one tiny point of control that you can release right now. Not a major life decision, but something small and immediate. Let go of the exact moment you will send that email. Stop planning the perfect response to a question you might be asked. Simply notice the urge to control it, and then, with a soft breath, release it. Do not force the release. Simply allow the small plan to dissolve like mist in sunlight. Watch what happens. Perhaps the email comes later. Perhaps the conversation flows more naturally. Perhaps you simply feel a quiet shift in your body, a loosening of that tightness in your shoulders. This is not about losing direction. It is about discovering the direction that already exists within the unfolding moment. This surrender is not defeat. It is the opening of a door. It is the moment when the clenched fist finally relaxes, and the hand is free to receive what is offered. It is the quiet space created when we stop shouting at the river and simply learn to swim within its current. Having released the weight of past regrets, having let go of the need to control the next moment, we find ourselves standing in a place of deep, unexpected freedom. We are no longer fighting the tide. We are the tide. This surrender creates space for life's natural flow. Life unfolds in a constant flow, a river carrying us through moments that shift and change without warning. We often mistake the turbulence of life for the enemy, tightening our grip on what we believe we must control. Yet the true obstacle is not the storm outside, but the resistance within us. As we learned in the previous chapter, surrendering control releases the tension that binds us, allowing us to align with life's natural rhythm. Now, we discover that within this very rhythm, even amidst the loudest chaos, stillness is always present. It is not a place we seek elsewhere, but a quiet center already within us, waiting to be noticed. Consider the story of a monk walking through a sudden, violent storm. Rain lashed the mountainside, thunder shook the earth, and wind howled through the pines. His fellow monks rushed to secure the temple, voices raised in urgency. But the monk sat calmly by the open door, watching the rain fall. When asked why he did not join the effort to calm the storm, he replied, "The storm is not my enemy. My fear of it is the noise of the storm was the same for all. Yet his reaction transformed the experience. He did not fight the wind. He noticed the stillness within his own breath, the calm beneath the surface of the noise. The storm passed, but the stillness remained, unshaken. This is the essence of finding freedom in chaos. It is not about eliminating the noise of life, but recognizing that beneath the surface of every disturbance lies a deeper quiet. When the train roars past your window, when voices rise in argument, when the world feels overwhelming, pause. Notice how the stillness exists even in the noise. It is not a silence that drowns out the sound, but a quiet awareness that holds the sound without being disturbed by it. Your reaction is the only thing that creates suffering. The chaos itself is simply life moving as it always does. To embody this, try a simple practice. Find a quiet space where you can sit undisturbed for 2 minutes. Choose a time when you know a loud sound will occur, a passing truck, a distant siren, the hum of machinery. Sit comfortably, close your eyes gently, and breathe softly. When the sound begins, do not try to stop it or push it away. Instead, let your awareness rest in the space between the sound and your reaction. Notice the sound entering your ears, but also notice the calm that persists beneath it. Feel the solidity of your seat, the rhythm of your breath, the quiet space within you that the noise cannot touch. The sound may be loud, but within you, a stillness remains. This is not about ignoring the world. It is about meeting it with a heart that is not shaken. In this practice, you are not seeking stillness as something separate from the noise. You are discovering that stillness is the very ground from which all experience arises. The sound comes and goes, but the quiet center remains. This is the freedom we have been seeking, not freedom from change, but freedom within it. The chaos is not the problem. Your reaction to it is. By noticing the stillness that exists even in the midst of noise, you step out of the struggle and into the natural flow. You realize that you are not a leaf tossed by the wind, but the deep river that holds the wind within its current. This stillness becomes your unshakable center. Imagine the quiet space within you. The stillness you discovered when you stopped resisting life's natural flow. That deep calm, the unshakable ground beneath the surface chaos, is now the very source from which true compassion arises. It flows not from a place of need, but from the simple recognition of another's presence, just as you are. True compassion is not a demanding force. It does not seek to change another or fix their pain, nor does it expect them to fix yours. It simply offers itself, like water finding its level, without any hidden condition. Notice the subtle expectation that often hides beneath our gestures of care. How often do we offer help, or kindness, or even a listening ear, while secretly hoping the other person will respond in a certain way. Perhaps we hope they will say thank you, or feel grateful, or finally understand us, or even change their behavior to ease our own discomfort. This hidden demand, this unspoken fix me in our interactions, is the very thing that binds us. It turns compassion into a transaction, a burden we place on others, and a heavy weight we carry ourselves. When we expect someone to fix our pain, we deny them their own path and deny ourselves the freedom of simply being present. Consider the old Zen story. A student, carrying a precious cup, hurriedly walked past his master. The cup slipped from his grasp and shattered on the stone floor. The student froze, face pale with shame, bracing for anger. The master, without a word, simply knelt down and began to sweep up the pieces with calm, unhurried care. There was no blame, no demand for an apology, no expectation that the student should feel better or fix the broken cup. The master's compassion was offered freely, without a single thought of what the student might do or say next. The student, feeling the warmth of that pure presence, was freed from his own shame without needing to earn it. The master's action was simply the natural expression of his own stillness meeting the situation. Now, bring this awareness gently into your own day. The next time you offer a kind word, a helping hand, or a moment of patience, pause. Ask yourself softly, without judgment, do I hope for something in return? Am I waiting for a specific reaction to make this feel worthwhile? If you notice that expectation, simply let it go. Offer the kindness fully, just as the master offered the sweeping, without the invisible thread of demand attached. Feel the lightness that comes when you release the need for the other person to be different, to respond in a certain way, or to make your pain disappear. This is the practice of compassion without expectation. It is not passive, it is active presence, free from the weight of our own unspoken demands. This simple shift, this release of the burden we carry for how others should be, this quiet letting go of the need to fix the world or others, is where true inner freedom blossoms. It flows naturally from the deep stillness you have cultivated. It is the gentle current that moves without resistance, carrying you beyond the illusion of control. This releases the burden of others' paths. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the quiet space within you, the stillness that has always been there beneath the surface of life's movements. This is the ground from which true compassion grows, not from the need to fix or the expectation of change. Now, bring that same deep calm into your next conversation. Listen, not to prepare your reply, but to truly hear the person before you. Notice the subtle moment when your mind begins to form a response, perhaps even before they finish speaking. Feel the impulse to offer advice, to correct, to make it better. That impulse is the illusion of separation speaking. It says, I am separate from you, and I must fix this gap. But true listening dissolves that gap. It simply allows the other to be fully known, without your mind stepping in to rearrange the world. This is the practice we begin here. Imagine a simple scene. A student sits with their teacher, voice thick with frustration about a broken vase, a cherished family heirloom. The student speaks of loss, of memory, of the sharp sting of carelessness. The teacher does not jump to say, "Don't worry, I'll get it fixed," or "It's just a thing. Move on." Instead, they sit quietly, eyes soft, breath steady. They listen to the words, the tone, the unspoken sorrow beneath the words. They don't wait for a pause to speak. They simply receive the whole experience of the student as it is, without judgment or the need to alter it. The student feels truly seen, not just heard. The connection deepens, not because words were exchanged, but because presence was offered. The separation dissolved in the space of pure attention. This is the power of mindful listening. Now, practice this gently. Choose one conversation today. It could be with a friend sharing a worry, a colleague expressing a challenge, even a child talking about their day. Set an intention for 3 minutes. Truly listen. Not to respond, not to judge, not to solve. Just listen. When you notice your mind starting to formulate a reply, a correction, a comforting phrase, gently pause, breathe, let the words settle. Notice the physical sensation of that impulse, perhaps a tightening in your throat or a shift in your posture. Acknowledge it without judgment, then gently return your attention to the speaker. Feel the space between words. Feel the weight of their words in the air. This is not passive silence, it is active presence, a deep respect for the other as they are, right now. This practice is not about making them feel better. It is about releasing your own need to be the one who fixes, who understands, who has the answer. In that release, freedom arises. You are no longer trapped in the cycle of your own reaction. You are simply present, allowing the connection to form naturally. You realize you were already listening, already connected, all along. The separation was never real. It was the story you told yourself while you were waiting to speak. This simple act, this 3 minutes of undistracted presence, transforms communication from a transaction into a connection. It dissolves the illusion of separation we carry within us. It is the living expression of the inner stillness we cultivated in the previous chapter. It is compassion in action, flowing freely from a place of deep understanding, not from a place of needing to change the other. This is how we walk the path of inner freedom. one mindful breath, one fully heard word at a time. This is the path. Imagine the quiet of a garden at dawn, just after the last bird call fades. The air holds its breath, not empty but deeply full. This is the stillness we seek. Not a void to be filled, but a presence to be noticed. Often, we mistake silence for emptiness and rush to fill it with thoughts, like a child scattering pebbles into a calm pond. We think, I must plan, I must fix, I must understand. But true stillness reveals something else. The space between thoughts is already whole, already peaceful, already alive. It is not waiting for us to arrive. It is where we have always been. Consider the monk who sat beneath the ancient oak each morning. For years, he simply sat, watching the leaves fall, the clouds drift, the birds sing. He did not chase the wind or cling to the shadows. When a traveler came seeking urgent advice, the monk listened without rushing to answer, without the need to rearrange the traveler's world. He simply sat with the question, holding it gently in the quiet space. The traveler felt no pressure, only a deep calm. The answer came not from the monk's words, but from the stillness they both shared. This is the heart of it. Stillness isn't passive. It's the fertile ground where understanding grows naturally, without force. It dissolves the frantic need to control or explain, leaving only clear presence. Now, turn your attention inward. Sit comfortably, eyes softly closed or gently resting on the floor. Set a gentle timer for 5 minutes. This is not about stopping thoughts. It is about noticing the space around them. Feel the breath moving, the weight of your body resting, the quiet hum of the room. When a thought arises, like a cloud passing through a clear sky, do not grasp it or push it away. Simply notice it, then let it drift, and gently return to the space between thoughts. Feel how the silence isn't empty but full of the quiet awareness itself. Notice the subtle shift as you stop filling the silence with your inner chatter. Feel the calm that arises simply from being present, without needing to do anything. This is not a special state for the meditation cushion. It is the natural state of a mind released from the constant effort to be elsewhere. This practice is not about achieving a perfect silence. It is about discovering that peace is already here, in the space we often miss because we are too busy filling it. The space between thoughts is not a gap, it is the very fabric of your awareness, rich with potential. When you notice the quiet space where thoughts pause, you touch the deep calm that underlies all experience. This is the foundation of inner freedom. It is not something you build on top of your life. It is the ground you stand on, always present, always available. You don't need to find it in the quiet garden or the silent room. It is the quiet beneath the noise of your own mind, the stillness you carry within. This stillness becomes your refuge in any circumstance. When the world feels chaotic, when the mind races, when the heart aches, you can return to this space between thoughts. It is not a place you go to escape the world. It is the deep, unshakable calm that allows you to meet the world with clarity and tenderness. This is the peace that flows from inner stillness. The peace that needs no fixing, no changing, no striving. It simply is, and it is always available, right here, right now. In the quiet space between your thoughts, in the quiet space between thoughts, where stillness already resides, we find the simplest anchor we carry within. This is not a place we must reach, but a natural rhythm already present in every breath we take. Your breath flows with you through every moment of joy, worry, or stillness, always available as a grounding point. Notice how it shifts when emotions arise, perhaps tightening with anxiety, deepening with calm, or becoming shallow with distraction. This subtle awareness is the first step toward inner freedom, recognizing that the very air moving through you holds the key to returning home to yourself. Consider a simple moment in a Zen garden. A student sits, restless after a difficult conversation, fingers tapping against their knees. The teacher, without a word, places a hand gently on their shoulder, not to soothe or fix, but to share the quiet space. The student feels the warmth, looks down, and notices their own breath, held too tightly. They take a slow, deep inhale, feeling the air fill their lungs, then a longer, releasing exhale, feeling the tension ease. No grand effort, just a return to the natural flow. In that moment, the student didn't change their situation. They simply returned to the ground beneath their feet, the steady rhythm of their own breath. This is the practice, not to escape the storm, but to find the calm center within it, right here, right now, through the simple act of breathing. Now, let us gently bring this awareness to your own moment. Sit comfortably, eyes softly closed or lowered. Feel the natural rise and fall of your chest or abdomen. There is no need to force it, only to notice. Begin by breathing in for a count of 4, feeling the gentle expansion. Then breathe out slowly for a count of 6, feeling the release. Let the out breath be longer, a natural sigh of letting go. Do this for just 2 minutes. If your mind wanders, as it will, simply return to the count, the sensation of air moving in and out. This is not about achieving perfect breathing. It is about returning to the present, again and again, with kindness toward yourself. Notice how the simple act of focusing on the breath softens the edges of worry, like ripples calming on a still pond. You are not fighting the mind, you are resting within its natural pauses. This practice dissolves the illusion that peace must be found outside. It reveals that calm is not something to be gained, but something already here, waiting within the ordinary flow of your breath. When you notice your breath changing with emotion, you see the temporary nature of feeling itself, the tightness of anxiety, the heat of frustration. They are not permanent, just like the breath that shifts and settles. This is self-compassion in action, meeting each moment with the gentle presence of your breath, without judgment or the need to change what is. You are simply allowing yourself to be exactly as you are, right here, in this breath. As you continue this practice, you will find it becomes less like an exercise and more like a natural companion. It requires no special place, no extra time, only the willingness to return to your breath when the world feels heavy. This simple rhythm, noticed and honored, becomes the steady ground beneath your feet, the quiet hum of inner freedom that never leaves. This breath practice becomes your constant companion. Consider the quiet space between breaths you discovered in the last chapter. That stillness, the natural calm beneath the surface of thought, is not something you must seek in a special place. It is already here, available as you move through your day. Now, let us gently weave this awareness into the ordinary fabric of your life. True freedom is not found only in quiet retreats, but in the very moments we often rush through without noticing. We hurry to the shower, barely feeling the water, our minds already on the day ahead. We sit in traffic, tense and impatient, missing the rhythm of the road. We grasp our coffee cup, sipping it mechanically, while thoughts churn. In these ordinary moments, we lose ourselves in the future or the past, forgetting the simple reality of now. Imagine your morning routine. Instead of rushing to finish, try this. As you stand beneath the shower, feel the water on your skin. Notice its temperature, the sound, the way it flows. Do not think about the next task. Simply be with the sensation. When you step out, feel the towel against your skin, the cool air on your damp body. Later, as you make your coffee, pause before drinking. Hold the cup. Feel its warmth seeping into your palms, the weight of it. Notice the steam rising, the rich aroma. For just 30 seconds, let your full attention rest there. No need to judge the moment. No need to make it better. Simply feel the warmth, the solidity of the cup in your hands. This is not about adding something new. It is about removing the veil of distraction that hides the simple beauty already present. This practice is not about perfection. Some days you will notice the warmth of your coffee cup. Other days your mind will be elsewhere. That is perfectly fine. The practice is the gentle return, the soft awareness that arises when you notice you have drifted. It is not about forcing yourself to be present, but about recognizing the moment you are not present and gently bringing yourself back Like the breath that anchors you, this small attention to the cup becomes a touchstone. It reminds you that freedom is not a distant goal, but the quality of attention you bring to this very moment. The shower, the commute, the coffee, each becomes a meditation, not because of the activity itself, but because of the presence you bring to it. You are not adding a ritual, you are uncovering the ritual that has always been there, waiting beneath the surface of your rushing mind. Notice how often you move through life on autopilot, barely touching the world. How many moments of warmth, sound, or simple sensation pass by unnoticed? This is the freedom we speak of, the freedom to be fully here, in the ordinary, without the need to escape it. It is the deep peace found not by leaving the world behind, but by entering it fully, with open senses and an open heart. The warmth of the cup is not just a sensation, it is an invitation to remember your own inherent peace. When you feel that warmth for 30 seconds, you are touching the same stillness you discovered between breaths. It is the same freedom, now woven into the simple act of holding a cup. This small practice transforms the routine into a ritual of presence. It is the quiet shift where the ordinary becomes sacred, not because it changes, but because your attention changes. You are no longer rushing through life, you are living it, one warm moment at a time. This is how inner freedom becomes not a concept, but a lived reality, right here in the middle of your day. And this simple practice, this mindful moment with your coffee cup, is the beginning of that transformation. As you sit with the gentle rhythm of your breath, that steady anchor you discovered in the last chapter, notice how this quiet presence shifts your relationship to the smallest choices. Freedom isn't found in the grand decisions alone, but in the quiet space between noticing a thought and acting upon it. Often, we seek external validation for the simplest things, the exact shade of blue for a shirt, the brand of coffee, the type of bread at the bakery. We scroll through options, weigh minute differences, and wait for someone else's nod of approval before moving forward. This seeking, even for the tiniest thing, is a subtle chain, binding us to the opinions of others and the endless noise of possibility. True freedom begins when we release that need, when we choose without needing to prove it to anyone, including ourselves. Imagine a monk in a simple monastery kitchen, the air warm with the scent of rice and tea. A visitor asks him what he would like for breakfast. He looks at the plain bowls of steamed rice, the simple pickled vegetables, the small pot of miso soup. He doesn't hesitate, doesn't mentally compare, doesn't ask the cook for more options. He simply picks the rice and the vegetables. The choice is made not by overthinking, but by the quiet clarity of his presence in that moment. He eats with full awareness. The taste, the warmth, the simple satisfaction of a choice made without burden. This isn't indifference, It's the profound ease that comes from knowing the decision is already within you, resting in the natural flow of your attention. Now, bring this awareness to your own ordinary moment. This morning, when you stand before the refrigerator or the coffee counter, before you reach for your phone to check reviews or ask a friend, pause. Feel the breath in your lungs. Notice the simple options before you, the familiar bread, the coffee you usually drink. Choose without researching, without the internal debate about what's best. Let the choice be as simple as noticing the bread's texture or the coffee's aroma. If your mind immediately jumps to, but what if I miss out? Or what will they think? Gently acknowledge that thought without following it. Return to the breath, to the simple sensation of the moment. This small act, choosing your breakfast without seeking external confirmation, is not trivial. It is a direct experience of freedom, woven into the fabric of your day. It is the practice of trusting your own quiet knowing, right here, right now, in the ordinary. Notice how this choice feels different from the usual mental chatter. There's a lightness, a release of tension in the shoulders, a sense of being unburdened. You didn't need to be right, or perfect, or approved. You simply chose. This simplicity is not about being careless. It is about being fully present with the reality of the moment, without adding layers of unnecessary thought. It is freedom in action, embodied in the most mundane act. This simplicity becomes your compass. Consider the quiet weight we sometimes carry after offering help. We may smile as we hand a neighbor a bag of groceries, only to feel a subtle sting later when no thanks are offered. This familiar pang, feeling unappreciated, reveals a hidden expectation woven into our kindness. It is the mind adding a condition. I helped, therefore you must acknowledge me. This small knot of expectation, however gentle, tees our freedom to the reactions of others. True compassion, however, flows freely without needing a response, like water seeking its own level. It is kindness offered simply because it is the natural expression of a heart at ease, not because it expects a return. In the ancient Zen tradition, there is a story of a monk who saw a woman struggling to cross a muddy stream. He silently carried her across, set her down gently on the other side, and continued his journey. Later, another monk asked him, "Where did you find such a beautiful woman?" The first monk replied, "I left her at the stream." The second monk was confused, but the first monk simply continued walking. He had offered help without a single thought of being remembered or of needing her to see him as a helper. His compassion was complete in the moment, unburdened by the need for her gratitude or even her awareness of his action. It was pure, like the rain falling on the mountain, giving without remembering who received it. Notice now the subtle shift within yourself. When you help someone, perhaps making a cup of tea for a colleague who seems tired, or offering to take out the trash without being asked? Do you find yourself waiting for a word of thanks or a smile of recognition? That moment of waiting is the place where expectation takes root. It is the quiet moment when you feel a flicker of disappointment if it doesn't come. This is the point to gently observe, without judgment. See the feeling arise like a cloud passing through a clear sky, and let it pass without adding a story. You are not unappreciated. You are simply noticing the mind's habit of seeking a mirror for its own kindness. Now, try this small practice. Choose one ordinary moment today. It might be holding a door open for someone, or quietly clearing the table after a meal. Do it fully, with your whole attention, but do not mention it to anyone. Do not look for a nod or a word. Simply offer the act and let it be done. Feel the space where the expectation would have been. Notice how the mind relaxes when you release the need for the other person to notice. There is no burden here, only the simple, clear act of being helpful. This is the practice of compassion without expectation. It is not about the other person's response, but about the quality of your own presence in the offering. In this simple act, we see how the need for external validation dissolves. The warmth of the tea you made, the steadiness of your hand holding the door, the quiet care in your eyes, these are the true measures of the kindness, not any words spoken in return. When we release the expectation, we discover a deeper freedom. The heart becomes light, unburdened, and open to flow in every moment, without needing to be seen. This is the true integration of freedom into the ordinary fabric of life. It is the gentle shift from seeking appreciation to simply being the kindness itself. Imagine the kitchen on a weekday morning. Pots clatter, the coffee machine hisses, and your phone buzzes insistently with an urgent message. Outside, traffic roars. A child calls from the yard, and the weight of the day presses in. This is not chaos to be feared or escaped. It is the very canvas where stillness shines brightest. Chaos is not the enemy of peace. It is the fertile ground where peace becomes visible, where the inner calm you've cultivated reveals itself most clearly. Notice how you react when the phone rings during your quiet moment. When a colleague interrupts your focus, or when a sudden demand shatters your calm. Do you tense, react with impatience, or feel pulled away from your center? This reaction is the moment of choice. It is not about avoiding the interruption, but about the space between the interruption and your response. In that space, you can choose to return to your breath, to the simple rhythm of your own life. Here is the gentle practice. When interrupted, pause. Not a long pause, not a dramatic one, but a quiet, soft 10 seconds. Let the phone ring once more. Let the pot boil over. Let the conversation wait just a moment. In those 10 seconds, feel the weight of the moment. Then gently bring your attention back to your breath. Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the soft sound of your inhale and exhale. This is not escape, it is a return. It is the practice of remembering your true nature is not shaken by the outside world. The chaos remains, but within you, a quiet center holds steady. This is the integration. Freedom is not found only in silent meditation halls or perfect moments of peace. It is woven into the very fabric of ordinary life, into the messy, noisy, demanding reality of being human. It is the quiet strength that allows you to respond to the ringing phone, not with frustration, but with presence. It is the calm that flows when you choose to breathe before speaking, to listen before reacting. This stillness is not passive, it is active, rooted, and available in every single moment of disruption. When you pause for 10 seconds, you are not losing time, you are reclaiming it. You are returning to the source of your being, the unshakable core within. You are reminding yourself that you are not the chaos, but the space within which chaos moves. This quiet return, repeated in the smallest interruptions, builds a profound resilience. It transforms the ordinary, often overwhelming, flow of daily life into a practice of deep peace. You may feel it at first as a small shift, a slight easing in your shoulders, a calmer tone in your voice. Over time, this practice becomes your natural state, your unspoken strength. It is the quiet release of expectation that SC03 spoke of, now made visible in the midst of life's demands. You are not avoiding the storm, you are learning to stand calmly within it, knowing the storm cannot touch the stillness that is already yours. This stillness becomes your unshakable core. Pause for a moment. Feel the gentle rhythm of your breath, the soft weight of your body resting. Now, let us gently turn our attention inward, not to chase after thoughts, but to notice the space where thoughts arise. Who are you when the story of the day, the worry about tomorrow, or the echo of yesterday's conversation simply falls away? This is the heart of the question. Who are you when you're not your thoughts or stories? The mind may race to answer, but true understanding comes not from the answer, but from the quiet space of the question itself. In Zen, we often use simple, immediate experiences to point to this. Imagine standing by a flowing river. The water moves, changes color with the sun, carries leaves and stones downstream. You watch it, yet you are not the water. The river flows, but the bank where you stand remains still, observing without being moved. The water is the thought, the story, the experience. The bank is the awareness that simply is, noticing the flow without needing to be the flow. This is the eye that observes all experiences, the silent witness present before the thought forms. It is not a separate self to find, but the very ground of your being, always here, always aware. So, let us practice this awareness now. As you sit quietly, notice the thoughts passing through your mind like clouds across the sky. Feel the space between them, the stillness beneath the chatter. Then, softly ask yourself, what am I without my current thoughts? Not what I think I am, but what remains when the thinking stops. Do not search for an answer. Simply rest in the question, like a stone settling in clear water. Feel the subtle shift when you stop identifying with the river's movement and simply rest as the riverbank. You might feel a lightness, a sense of not being held so tightly by the narrative. This is not about emptying the mind, but about recognizing the awareness that holds the mind. This simple inquiry transforms our relationship with the self. When we ask, "Who am I without my thoughts?" we begin to see that the I we cling to is not a solid thing, but a temporary gathering of thoughts and feelings, like a wave rising from the ocean. The ocean itself, the deep, unchanging awareness is always present, untouched by the wave's shape or direction. We often believe we are the wave, struggling against the shore or chasing the next crest. But the wave is merely the ocean expressing itself for a moment. The stillness we discovered in the storm of daily chaos, the calm we found when expectation fell away, is not something we created. It is the very nature of awareness itself, the unshakable core we return to, not because we seek it, but because it is always here, as the riverbank is always there, observing the river. This gentle questioning dissolves the illusion of a fixed self. It shows us that freedom is not found by becoming something new, but by recognizing the boundless space we have always been. The thought "I'm stressed" fades, but the awareness of I am remains, clear and free. The next step is to rest in this recognition, not as an idea, but as the direct experience of your true nature. This is the deepening of self-understanding that opens the door to inner freedom. Imagine sitting quietly, the quiet hum of the world around you. You've discovered a deep stillness within, a core that remains steady even as life swirls. This stillness, this awareness you've come to recognize as your true nature, isn't separate from the changing world. It's the very ground from which you meet everything, including the inevitable flow of moments. True freedom isn't found by holding things fixed, by demanding the world align with your expectations. It's found in the simple, radical act of meeting each moment exactly as it is, without resistance, without the subtle tug of "this shouldn't be this way." Notice how often you cling to a picture in your mind of how things should be, how your morning coffee should be perfectly hot, how a conversation should unfold, how the weather should match your mood. This clinging, this quiet insistence that life must conform to your idea, creates a constant undercurrent of tension. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. leaving you feeling drained and frustrated. Freedom begins when you gently let go of that grip, not by forcing calm, but by noticing the grip itself. Let's bring this to life with a simple, ordinary moment. Look up at the sky. Watch a cloud drift across the sun. See how it forms, how it changes shape, how it dissolves into nothingness, all without any effort or judgment from you. It simply is. It doesn't resist becoming part of the sky, nor does it cling to its previous form. It moves with the wind, meeting each new moment of air, each shift in light, without complaint or struggle. Now, bring this same gentle attention to your own experience. When the coffee is too hot, feel the slight tension in your jaw, the thought it should be cooler, and then simply notice that thought without adding to it. Feel the heat in your hands, the steam rising, and let the cloud of your resistance dissolve as easily as the cloud in the sky. There's no need to fix the temperature. Simply observe the sensation and the thought, without judgment, just as you would observe the cloud. This practice isn't about becoming passive. It's about shifting your relationship to the flow. It's recognizing that the resistance you feel is a separate story, not the reality of the moment. When you stop fighting the temperature of your coffee, the sound of traffic, or the unexpected delay, you step out of the struggle and into the spaciousness of awareness itself. You realize the core you return to, the stillness beneath the surface, is not a place you escape to, but the very awareness that meets the changing world with open hands. You might feel a shift, a softening, as you practice this. The tightness eases, replaced by a quiet clarity. You see that clinging to how things should be was never the path to peace. It was the barrier. Meeting the present moment with all its impermanence, without resistance, is where freedom is discovered, not as a distant goal, but as the natural unfolding of your awareness right here, right now. This acceptance, this effortless meeting of the moment as it is, becomes your natural state. Feel the quiet space between thoughts right now. Notice how the breath flows without effort, how the body rests in its natural ease. This is the ground we've been exploring, awareness that holds all experience without grasping. Now, consider the weight we sometimes carry from moments that have already passed. Regrets are not the past itself, but memories that no longer serve you. They are like old, worn-out clothing you've kept in a drawer, though you no longer need them. The true nature beneath these memories remains untouched, calm and whole, just as the stillness beneath the surface of the water remains undisturbed by ripples. Notice the physical sensation of holding on to what was. When a regret arises, where does it live in your body? Is it a tightness in the chest, a heaviness in the shoulders, a subtle tension around the eyes? This is not the truth of your being, it is merely the echo of a thought clinging to a moment that no longer exists. In the old Zen story, a monk spilled tea on his robe. He sat for hours, staring at the stain, berating himself for the accident. His teacher simply picked up the empty bowl and said, "The tea is spilled. The bowl is still whole." The monk realized his regret had made the bowl feel broken when it was always complete. The spill was a moment. The bowl's wholeness was always there. Your past events are like that spilled tea. They are transient, not the nature of the bowl itself. Now, gently bring to mind one small regret you've carried. Not the grand, overwhelming ones, but a quiet, familiar ache. Write it down on a piece of paper, just the words, no explanations. Hold the paper for a moment, feeling the weight of it. Then, take a slow, deep breath in, and as you breathe out, release it with a sigh, a soft, audible breath that carries the tension away. Let the paper be the container for that memory, and let the sigh be the release. As you exhale, feel the tightness in your chest or shoulders soften, like a stone dissolving in water. The regret was never a part of you. It was a passing thought that you held too long. Now, let it go. There is no need to carry it forward. The paper may stay, but the weight is gone. This is not about forgetting. It is about meeting the present moment with the fullness of your awareness, without the extra burden of what has already passed. The energy that was trapped in that old memory, energy you used to feel guilty, to worry, to replay the what if, is now free. It flows back into your body, into your breath, into the quiet space beneath the surface. Notice how the weight lifts as you release. Feel the lightness in your posture, the ease in your breathing. This is the natural unfolding of your true nature, already free, already whole. Simply waiting for the old habits of holding to loosen their grip. Notice how the weight lifts as you release. This releases energy trapped in the past, making space for the next moment to arrive with its own quiet clarity. As you sit quietly now, notice the gentle space between thoughts, the quiet hum of your own breath. This is where true freedom begins, not in forcing life to fit your expectations, but in trusting its natural unfolding. When we hold tightly to the need to control, to shape every outcome, we create a subtle tension within ourselves, a quiet resistance that drains our peace. It's as if we're trying to hold back the river with our hands, straining against its current while the water flows past us anyway. Notice this tension, not with judgment, but simply as a sensation in your body, a tightness in the shoulders, or a quickening of the breath. When you find yourself wishing someone else would act differently, or hoping a situation would turn out exactly as you planned. This tension is the price of control, the very thing that keeps us separate from the flow of life. Consider the story of a monk walking beside a river. One day, a strong current carried away a basket of fruit he was carrying. He paused, looked at the rushing water, and simply watched the basket float downstream. He did not chase it, did not try to pull it back against the flow. He saw the river's movement as natural, not as an obstacle to overcome. He understood that trying to hold the basket against the current would only exhaust him, while trusting the river's path would carry the basket where it needed to go. This is not passivity, but a deep knowing that life moves with its own intelligence, its own rhythm. The monk's calm presence allowed the river to do what rivers do, and he remained unshaken. His freedom came from not fighting the current, but from flowing with it. Now, bring this awareness to your own life. Choose one small, ordinary plan you've been holding on to, a specific time to meet a friend, a particular way you want a conversation to go, even how you imagine your afternoon will unfold. Gently let go of the need for that exact outcome. Do not force it. Simply release the mental grip. Then, observe what happens. Notice if your shoulders soften, if the tightness in your chest eases, if the mind stops spinning with worry. Watch how the conversation might shift naturally, how the afternoon might reveal something unexpected and gentle. You might find the meeting happens later, but feels more relaxed. You might discover a new path or a deeper connection simply because you stopped pushing. There is no grand revelation here, only a quiet shift. The tension dissolves, and life moves through you with less resistance. You are not losing control. You are finally letting go of the illusion that you ever truly had it. You are opening to the spaciousness where life can breathe. This practice is not about abandoning responsibility, but about releasing the burden of demanding that the world operates solely through your will. It is the simplest act of faith in the unfolding of your own life. When you stop trying to steer the river, you find yourself already carried forward effortlessly. The space you create by releasing the need for control becomes the very room where life's natural flow can enter, where unexpected gifts can appear, where you can simply be. This surrender is not weakness. It is the profound strength of trusting that you are part of a larger movement, a current that is always guiding you home. And so, as you let go of this small plan, notice how the ground beneath you feels more solid, how the air feels lighter, how the moment opens up before you. This surrender creates space for life's flow. As the gentle rhythm of the present moment settles around you, notice how the light falls on the leaves outside your window. This is the space we enter now, unburdened by the weight of what was or what might be. We stand here, ready to move without the invisible cords of expectation binding our hands. True freedom in action begins not with grand gestures, but with the quiet shift within the effort itself. It is the simple, profound understanding that freedom resides not in the outcome we chase, but in the quality of our engagement while we are doing the work. When the thought arises, "I must succeed," feel the subtle tightening in your chest, the pressure building like a storm cloud. That pressure is the very chain we seek to release. It is the voice whispering that your worth depends on a specific result, making every step feel like a burden rather than a natural unfolding. Consider the potter shaping clay on the wheel. She does not watch the vase form with frantic hope for perfection. She feels the cool, yielding earth, responds to its resistance, and moves with the flow of the spinning wheel. She pours her full attention into the turn of the clay, the pressure of her fingers, the feel of the material. The vase may crack, or it may be beautiful, but the potter's effort is not tied to either outcome. Her freedom is found in the act of shaping, not in the shape it takes. She works without the need for approval, without the fear of failure, because her attention is wholly in the movement of her hands and the presence of the clay. This is not laziness, it is deep, focused engagement. It is the effort that flows freely, uncluttered by the need to control the result. Now, bring this awareness to your own life. Choose a small, ordinary task you might do today. Perhaps it is preparing a simple meal, writing a short email, or walking to the mailbox. Begin it with full presence, noticing the sensations, the sounds, the movements. As you work, gently notice if the thought, "I must get this right," or "will they approve?" arises. When it does, simply breathe and return to the task itself, the feel of the knife on the vegetable, the click of the keyboard, the rhythm of your step. Do not check for approval from others or from your own anxious mind. Complete the task as fully as you can, knowing the outcome is simply the natural result of your effort, not the measure of your being. This practice is not about ignoring results, but about releasing the grip that turns ordinary work into a source of tension. It is the practice of being the potter, not the anxious spectator waiting for the vase to be perfect. Notice how the pressure dissolves as you let go of the need to control the end. The work becomes lighter, more fluid. Your hands move with ease. Your mind is clear. This is the taste of inner freedom, not a state of never having to act, but the deep peace found in acting without the weight of clinging. It is the release of the invisible chains of expectation that bind us to outcomes, making us feel small and anxious when things do not go as planned. This is the natural flow of life when we stop resisting it. This releases the invisible chains of expectation. We've spoken of releasing attachment to specific outcomes, finding calm in the flow of life itself. Now, consider this deeper layer. True freedom isn't just about letting go of what might happen, but about meeting what is happening without resistance. Resistance is not an external force we fight against. It is the friction within us that creates suffering. It arises the moment we say, "This shouldn't be," or "This is wrong." Even when facing the simplest moment, notice that physical sensation then, the tightness across the shoulders, the jaw clenching, the breath catching. That is the friction of resistance, the very thing binding us to suffering right now. It is not the event itself that causes pain, but our refusal to allow it to simply be. Imagine a monk walking through a garden, his hands holding a delicate porcelain vase filled with water. A child runs past, bumping into him. The vase shatters, water spills, porcelain fragments scatter across the stone path. In that moment, the monk does not flinch, does not utter a word of blame or regret. He simply sees the water soaking into the earth, the pieces lying where they fell. He does not resist the spill. He meets the reality of it with open awareness. There is no struggle, no internal argument against what has happened. The vase is broken, and he continues his walk, his presence undisturbed. This is not indifference, it is profound acceptance. He lives without the resistance that would make the spill a burden, a personal affront. He is free because he does not fight the moment. This is the practice we begin with. Not grand gestures, but the smallest surrender. That moment when your coffee spills on your keyboard. Instead of tightening your fists and thinking, "This shouldn't happen," pause. Feel the tension in your body. Take one slow breath. Acknowledge, this is happening now. Release the internal should not, and simply let the spill be part of this moment. The water is wet. The keyboard needs cleaning. But your mind is not fighting it. Surrendering this tiny frustration is like opening a single window in a room filled with dust. It allows the fresh air of presence to flow in, dissolving the friction. Do this with the delayed bus, the unexpected rain, the minor miscommunication. Each time you choose not to resist the small discomfort, you practice living without friction. You discover that the moment, even with its messiness, is not your enemy. It simply is. Notice how the body relaxes when you stop fighting. Feel the subtle release in your chest, the ease in your breath. This is the quality of inner freedom we seek, not a distant state, but the immediate relief found in meeting life as it presents itself. The practice is not about changing the situation, but changing your relationship to it. You're not trying to make the spill disappear. You are learning to be present with the water on the keyboard without adding the weight of resistance. This small surrender is the foundation. It is the quiet shift from reacting to responding, from being caught in the current to moving with it. As you practice this small surrender, it begins to ripple through your days. The friction lessens. The struggle fades. This surrender becomes your natural response. Imagine the simple act of listening as a space where freedom unfolds. Not the freedom of having something to say, but the deep quiet where connection naturally arises. In our daily lives, we often listen while already preparing our reply, our mind racing ahead of the words spoken. This habit creates a subtle barrier, a separation between you and the other person. You are not truly present with them, but with your own thoughts. This is the very moment where inner freedom can be found, not by changing the other person, but by changing the quality of your own attention. Consider this ancient Zen story. A young monk sat by a river, listening to the water's constant flow. His master approached and asked, "What do you hear?" The monk replied, "The sound of the river." The master said, "Listen again." The monk listened, and this time he heard not just the river, but the birds singing, the rustle of leaves, the gentle wind. He heard the river not as a separate thing to be labeled, but as part of the whole listening moment. He heard without needing to name it or respond. In that pure listening, the separation dissolved. He was simply the listening itself, present with the sound, present with the moment, present with the master's question without needing to answer it immediately. That is the essence of mindful listening. Now, bring this to your own life. Sit with someone who speaks to you. Feel the natural impulse to think of your response while they are still talking. Notice it softly, without judgment. That moment of noticing is the beginning of freedom. It is the space where you can choose to let go of the need to be heard right now. Practice this today. Set a gentle intention for 3 minutes. Truly listen. Let the words flow into you without the need to form a reply. Notice the subtle tension that arises when you're about to interrupt and gently release it. Feel the space between words, the quiet pause where connection lives. You might find your mind wandering. That's okay. Gently return to the sound of the voice, the rhythm of the speech, the presence of the person speaking. This is not about being perfect. It is about returning, again and again, to the simple act of hearing. In this practice, you are not seeking to fix anything or to be understood. You are simply opening the space where true connection happens. The separation dissolves not through words, but through the quiet presence of being fully heard. This gentle shift, this practice of listening without response, transforms the very nature of communication. It moves it from a transaction of words to a shared presence. The friction of needing to be right, of needing to be heard, falls away. In that quiet space, freedom is not something you achieve, it is the natural state of being fully present, right here, right now. This transforms communication into presence. Your breath is always a portal to calm. It moves within you, unseen yet constant, a quiet rhythm beneath the surface of every moment. Notice how it shifts when tension rises, how it quickens, shortens, becomes shallow as stress whispers through your body. This simple movement, this natural flow, holds the key to returning to stillness. You don't need to force calm, you simply need to notice. In that noticing, you step out of the storm of reaction and into the deep peace that has always been here. This is not about controlling your breath, but about meeting it as it is. When the world feels overwhelming, when a word stings or a task feels heavy, pause. Feel the air enter your nose, cool and soft. Feel it. Fill your lungs, a gentle expansion. Then let it leave. Slow and steady, carrying away the tightness. Your breath is not separate from your life. It is the very pulse of your presence. In that pulse, you find a home. Imagine a monk tending his garden at dawn. The air is still, but a sudden gust stirs the leaves, rattling a nearby branch. For a moment, his chest tightens, his breath catches. He pauses, not with frustration, but with quiet awareness. He feels the rise of his chest, the quickening pace. Then, without effort, he breathes in slowly for 4 counts, filling his body with calm. He breathes out for 6 counts, releasing the tension like mist dissolving in light. The gust continues. The leaves rustle, but the monk remains rooted, his breath a steady anchor in the shifting air. He does not react to the wind. He simply returns to the rhythm within. This is the freedom we seek, not the absence of disturbance, but the presence of calm within it. Now, bring this awareness to your own moment. Sit softly, eyes closed or gently lowered. Notice your breath as it flows in, unforced. Let it flow out, unhurried. Now, gently lengthen the out-breath. Inhale for 4 slow counts, feeling the quiet expansion. Exhale for 6 counts, feeling the release, the soft letting go. Do this for 2 minutes. It is not about perfect timing, but about returning again and again to this simple anchor. When thoughts arise about the past, the future, the task ahead, let them pass like clouds. Gently guide your attention back to the breath's natural rhythm. You are not fixing anything, you are remembering where you already are. This practice is not escape. It is the opposite of escape. It is meeting life exactly as it is, with your breath as the steady ground beneath your feet. When you breathe in this way, you dissolve the separation between yourself and the moment. The stress, the urgency, the need to react, these soften as you return to the calm that is always present. You begin to see that freedom is not found outside yourself, in some distant state of calm, but right here, in the simple, sacred act of breathing. It is the quiet recognition that you are already whole, already at peace, even as the world moves around you. This breath becomes your constant anchor, It is there when the conversation turns difficult, when the day feels heavy, when the mind races. It is the unshakable point of stillness within the flow of life. So breathe in, feeling the calm expand. Breathe out, releasing what no longer serves. Let this rhythm guide you back to yourself again and again, until it becomes as natural as the rising and falling of the sea. Imagine the city street outside your window. The traffic roars, the phone buzzes, the conversation spills over, the coffee cup spills, and the world feels unsteady, yet beneath all this noise, a quiet pulse remains. This is the teaching of stillness in chaos. Chaos is not the enemy, but the very backdrop where your inner stillness shines most clearly. We often mistake the noise for reality and forget the calm that exists within us. Notice how you react to the disruption, the tightening in your shoulders, the urge to shout, the mental chatter trying to fix it all. This reaction is natural, but it is not your true nature. Your true nature is the awareness that holds the noise without being pulled into it. In the last chapter, we discovered that calm is found not by forcing silence, but by noticing the natural rhythm of your breath as it flows without effort. That breath is your anchor, the quiet pulse beneath the surface of all disturbance. Now, in the midst of the chaos, practice returning to that breath for just 10 seconds. When the noise rises, the meeting becomes tense. The email floods in pause. Don't wait for the chaos to stop. Instead, pause right there. Close your eyes if you can, or soften your gaze. Let your awareness gently settle into the simple sensation of your breath moving in and out. Feel the air cool at your nostrils, the gentle rise of your chest, the quiet rhythm that has always been there. This pause is not escape. It is a return to your constant presence. You are not trying to become calm. You are simply noticing the calm that is already here. The traffic still roars, the phone still buzzes, but you're not carried away. You are the stillness holding the noise, not the noise itself. This is the practice that dissolves the illusion of being swept away. It is not about avoiding life's turbulence, but discovering that you are not the turbulence. The frantic energy of the moment passes through you like clouds through the sky, yet you remain the open sky. Try it now as you listen to these words. Feel the breath in your body for 10 seconds. Let the external noise fade into the background as you simply notice the quiet movement within. In this small space, the chaos loses its power to disturb. You are not the storm, you are the calm that remains when the storm passes. This is how stillness becomes your unshakable center, not by resisting the world, but by resting in the awareness that already holds it. You do not need to become still, you simply need to remember the stillness that is always present. The noise of life will always come and go, but the awareness that observes it remains unchanged. It is this awareness that is your true home. It is not something you build, it is something you return to again and again. In the next chapter, we will explore how this unshakable center transforms not just your moments of chaos, but your entire relationship with life itself. For now, rest in the quiet pulse of your breath. Feel how it anchors you here now in this very moment. And know that this stillness is not separate from the chaos. It is the very ground from which chaos arises and dissolves. This is the freedom that remains undisturbed. This is the Unshakable Center. As you settle into the stillness discovered in your natural breath, a deeper layer of freedom begins to unfold. This is not about adding something new, but about releasing the subtle resistance that often hides within our very acceptance. You may have noticed in previous moments how the mind clings to a preferred version of reality, creating a quiet inner tension whenever life doesn't match that expectation. This tension, this feeling that this is not right, is the very point of practice. It is not the reality itself causing suffering, but the resistance to what is happening right now. Notice the physical sensation of that resistance, perhaps a tightness in the chest, a subtle clenching of the jaw, a feeling of being pushed against. Feel it without judgment, simply as a sensation arising within your awareness. This is the gateway. Consider the old story of the monk walking in the rain. The rain poured down, soaking his robe, his sandals squelching in the mud. A passerby, seeing his discomfort, said, "Why do you not seek shelter?" The monk looked up, smiled gently, and said, "The rain is here. The mud is here. The cold is here. I'm here. Why resist the rain?" He did not change the weather, nor did he ignore the wetness. He simply met the rain as it was, without the added burden of this should not be happening. His freedom came from accepting the rain, not from the rain stopping. His posture remained relaxed because he was not fighting the present moment. This is the essence of acceptance, meeting reality exactly as it presents itself, without the extra layer of resistance that creates inner conflict. Now, bring this understanding to your own experience. When you notice that familiar tension, that this is not right feeling, pause. Do not try to push it away or fix it immediately. Instead, gently bring your awareness to the physical sensation where it lives in your body. Feel the tightness, the heat, the pressure. Now, with your next breath, breathe directly into that sensation. Imagine your breath softening the edges of the tightness, not by changing it, but by acknowledging it fully. Breathe into the discomfort without trying to make it disappear or become something else. The discomfort remains, but the resistance to it dissolves. You are no longer fighting the rain, you are simply walking through it, aware of the wetness, the mud, the cool air, without adding the story of wrongness. This practice is not passive resignation, it is the active, present moment choice to meet life as it is, right here, right now. It is the deepening of the stillness you found in your breath, now extending to meet the full texture of experience without flinching. In this simple act of breathing into the discomfort without changing it, you discover that freedom is not found in life being different, but in your relationship to how it is. The resistance was the cage. Acceptance is the key that unlocks it. You do not need to become something else or make life conform. You simply need to be present with what is, exactly as it is, and find the stillness within that presence. This is the Unshakable Center you have been cultivating. It is not a place you travel to, but the very ground of your awareness when you stop struggling against the ground beneath your feet. This acceptance becomes your natural state. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your breath, the quiet rhythm that has carried you through every moment of chaos and calm. You have already learned to anchor here, to remember this stillness within the storm. Now, let us gently explore the nature of that stillness itself, for it holds a profound truth often misunderstood. Stillness is not an empty void we must fill or a state we must create. It is not the absence of sound or thought.
Rather,
stillness is full. It is brimming with presence, with the very awareness that allows you to be here, now, in this moment of simple being. This is the deep truth we uncover when we stop trying to make stillness happen and simply notice it. Consider the space between the notes in a song, or the quiet pause after rain has stopped falling. The pond after rain is calm, reflecting the sky and the trees with perfect clarity. It is not empty. It is full of the sky's presence, full of the reflection of the world. The pond doesn't struggle to be still. It simply is still, and in that stillness, it holds everything. Similarly, your mind, when not caught in the current of thought, is not void. It is naturally spacious, full of the quiet awareness that holds all experience without grasping. We often mistake this spaciousness for emptiness, so we rush to fill it with thoughts, with planning, with remembering, with worrying. We fill the silence with noise, believing we must be doing something to be present. Notice how easily you do this. When the mind seems quiet for a moment, what happens next? A thought arises, a memory surfaces, a plan forms, and the silence is gone, replaced by the familiar internal chatter. This is the habit of the mind, but it is not the nature of stillness itself. So, let us practice this simple awareness together. Find a quiet place to sit comfortably, where you can be undisturbed for a few moments. Set a gentle timer for 5 minutes. Close your eyes or soften your gaze downward. Let your breath flow naturally, without trying to change it. Now, simply notice. Notice the space between your thoughts. Notice the quiet that exists even when thoughts are moving through it. Don't chase the thoughts away. Don't try to create silence. Just observe the space where thoughts arise and pass, like clouds moving across the sky. See how the stillness was always there, holding the thoughts, not resisting them, not needing them to be gone. It is full of the simple presence of awareness itself. You are not empty. You are full of the quiet knowing that is already here, now. This is not a state you achieve through effort. It is the natural state of mind when you stop trying to be somewhere else. When you stop filling the space. The space between thoughts is not nothing. It is the very ground of your awareness, the Unshakable Center. As you sit with this awareness, notice the subtle shift. The tension that often accompanies the need to be doing something, to fill the silence, begins to soften. The frantic effort to control or understand the inner noise dissolves into a deeper acceptance of what simply is. You realize that the stillness isn't a place you go. It's the very space you are already resting in. Always. It is not separate from the thoughts or the sounds or the feelings. It is the spaciousness that holds them all without being disturbed. This is the freedom that remains undisturbed by life's fluctuations. The freedom of knowing that your center is unshakable. Not because you have mastered the storm, but because you have recognized the stillness within it. This stillness becomes your refuge. You've been learning to rest in the calm of this moment, to meet life with an open heart that accepts what is without resistance. This deep stillness, this full presence you've discovered in your breath, is the ground from which true freedom grows. Now, we turn to a subtle yet profound insight. The root of suffering is not in desire itself, but in how we relate to it. Desire is simply energy moving through us, like the wind through trees, natural and neutral. It is not the enemy. The tension arises only when we cling to the thought, I want this or I must have that, creating a tightness within the very center of our being. This is the moment to gently notice how the simple phrase, I want this, can tighten your shoulders, quicken your breath, or pull your attention away from the quiet space of now. That tension is the knot we must learn to loosen. Imagine an old Zen master sitting by a rushing river. A young monk approaches, anxious to cross to the other side. Master, he says, I must get to the other bank quickly. I need to be there. The master simply watches the water flow, then says, the river is already moving you. Why struggle to push against the current? The monk was not resisting the river's flow. He was resisting the idea of being where he was. He was creating suffering by fighting the natural energy of the moment. Just so, when we feel a desire, a craving for coffee, a wish for approval, a need for the moment to be different, we don't need to suppress it. We simply need to see it clearly, without adding the resistance of I must have it or I cannot have it. We see the wanting as a passing wave, not a command. So, let us practice this gentle observation now. Choose a small, immediate desire that arises within you, perhaps the urge for a sip of water, the thought of checking your phone, or the wish for a quiet moment. Notice it softly, without judgment. Feel the subtle energy of wanting in your body. Perhaps a slight tightening in your chest, or a pull in your mind. Now, simply sit with it. Do not act on it. Do not chase it or push it away. Just observe it for 5 minutes, as if watching clouds drift across a clear sky. Feel the energy of the desire move, rise, and settle, without adding your story of, "I need this" or "I don't have it." You may notice the tension ease as you stop fighting the natural flow. This is not about denying desire. It is about seeing it as part of the landscape of awareness, not the center of the world. The freedom comes from realizing the wanting is not who you are. It is a passing thought within the vast stillness you already embody. This practice dissolves the hidden belief that we must constantly chase or avoid desire to find peace. When you see desire as natural energy, not a threat or a promise, the deep-seated fear that fuels suffering begins to melt away. The root of suffering, the struggle against what is, loses its power. The unshakable center you've been cultivating through calm acceptance and stillness as full presence now reveals itself as the very ground where desire flows without causing harm. This insight is not a distant idea. It is the quiet understanding that arises when you stop fighting the river and simply flow with it. It is the moment freedom is not something to be gained, but the natural state of being when desire is seen clearly, without resistance. This understanding dissolves the root of suffering, preparing you to meet every moment with the same gentle, unshakable center. As we sit here together, the stillness we discovered in the previous chapters settles deeper within. Remember how we saw that stillness is not an empty space waiting to be filled, but the full presence already here. That understanding of stillness as complete, not lacking, was the key. It revealed how our suffering arises not from desire itself, but from the tight grip we place on wanting things to be different, on resisting the moment as it is. Now, we move beyond that understanding into its living expression. This is where freedom is not a distant goal, but the very ground beneath our feet, right here, right now. Freedom is not something you achieve after you become quiet or after you stop desiring. It is the natural state of being fully present, unburdened by the story of wanting something else. Notice it. You are already free in this moment. You're breathing. You are aware. You are held by the earth beneath you. This freedom isn't complicated. It's simply the awareness that you are already whole, already at peace, without needing to change anything. It's the profound simplicity of being exactly as you are, right here, right now. Consider the old Zen story of the monk sitting under the maple tree. A single leaf drifted down, landing softly on his robe. He didn't reach for it, didn't think about where it came from or where it would go. He simply felt the light touch, the cool air, the quiet of the garden. In that moment, his awareness was pure, unobstructed. There was no struggle, no need to hold the leaf, no desire to capture the moment. He was simply present, and in that presence, he was free. That leaf falling was not a distraction. It was the expression of his freedom. It was the moment itself, fully lived, fully known. That is the freedom we are speaking of. So, let us practice this awareness together for 1 minute. Find your comfortable posture, perhaps seated on a chair. Close your eyes if it feels natural, or soften your gaze downward. Now, simply feel the weight of your body resting on the chair. Feel the gentle pressure where your legs meet the floor, the support beneath your back, the way your arms rest on the chair's arms or your lap. Notice the subtle sensations without judgment. Is it heavy, light, cool, warm? Just feel it. Don't try to make it feel different. Just be with the simple fact of your body's presence on the chair. This is not about achieving calm. It is about recognizing the calm that is already there, the freedom that is already present in this very sensation. For 60 seconds, let your entire attention rest in this simple feeling of being held, of being here, exactly as you are. There is nothing else to do. There is no need to become more present. You are already present, already free. Feel the weight, feel the chair, feel the breath moving within you. This is not a technique to master. It is an invitation to wake up to what is already true. The freedom we seek is not out there, waiting for us to reach it. It is the space in which we are already living, the very ground of our being. This simple act of feeling your body's presence on the chair is not just an exercise. It is the living embodiment of freedom itself. It is the recognition that liberation is not a future state, but the natural expression of being fully alive in this moment. This awareness is the culmination of the journey. Feel the quiet space within your body, already present, untroubled. This is the natural ground of freedom we speak of, not something distant or earned. It is simply here, as you are, breathing. Notice how your breath moves with such gentle ease, without effort, without strain. It is the constant, quiet reminder that you are already free, not caught in the struggle of the moment. This breath is not a tool to fix anything. It is the very rhythm of your freedom, breathing through you, always. In the Zen tradition, there is a story of a monk who sought peace in the mountains. One stormy night, the wind howled, rain lashed the temple, and he felt his mind churning with worry. He sat down, closed his eyes, and simply felt his breath. He did not try to stop the storm outside or the storm inside. He simply returned to the natural flow of his breath. As he did, the frantic thoughts began to settle, not because he pushed them away, but because he was no longer fighting the present moment. The calm wasn't created, it was revealed, like sunlight finding its way through clouds when the wind stills. The mountain does not resist the wind. It simply is, and the calm flows through it. Your breath is the mountain within you, steady and present. This is the heart of inner calm through breath. When you feel the pull of distraction, the tug of worry, or the pressure of the moment, gently guide your attention back to the simple sensation of air entering and leaving your body. Notice the coolness at the nostrils, the rise and fall of your chest or belly. Do not force the breath to be slow. Simply observe it as it naturally is. Then, if it feels helpful, begin the gentle rhythm. Breathe in softly for 4 slow counts, feeling the calm gather within. Breathe out slowly for 6 counts, releasing any tightness, any holding. Let the out breath be longer, a natural sigh of release. Do this for just 2 minutes. It is not about achieving perfect breathing. It is about returning to the constant, unchanging presence of your own breath, the anchor of freedom already within you. In this simple practice, you are not creating calm. You are allowing the calm that is always there to surface. You are stopping the resistance. When you resist the breath, you resist life itself. When you return to it, you return to the natural state of being. The calm arises not from the practice, but from the cessation of your own struggle. It is effortless because it is simply remembering what you already are. Feel the slight shift as you breathe in with awareness. Breathe out with release. Notice how the tightness in your shoulders softens, how the mind settles into the present moment, just as the mountain settles under the rain. This is not a technique to master. It is a way of simply being present with what is right now in this breath. Let this practice become your natural response, your quiet companion in the midst of life's movements. It is not something you do only when things are difficult. It is the foundation of your freedom, available in every single moment, every time you breathe. This breath practice becomes your lifelong companion. Notice how your hand rests gently on your lap, the quiet weight of your body present in this moment. Feel the simple rhythm of your breath moving through you, effortless and already complete. This deepening calm, this natural presence you've been resting in, is the very ground from which compassion flows without effort. It is not something we must strive to create. True compassion arises not from a desire to fix or change another, but from the simple recognition of their being, right here, right now. It is freedom expressed in the space between you and another person. We often carry subtle expectations, even in our kindness. We hope for a smile in return, for understanding, for a certain reaction that confirms our effort. When we expect others to be a certain way, to respond as we wish, We bind them and ourselves within a narrow space. We create a hidden condition. I will be kind only if you are grateful, or I will care only if you change. This expectation, however gentle it seems, is a subtle cage. It prevents the natural flow of compassion, making it conditional, like a transaction. It turns the gift of presence into a demand. Consider the story of a monk crossing a river with a blind man. The monk helped him safely to the other side. As they parted, the blind man bowed deeply, thanking him. The monk simply nodded and continued on his way. He offered the help without needing the gratitude, without waiting for the words of thanks. The help was given because the blind man needed it, not because the monk sought a response. The monk's compassion was complete in itself, flowing freely like water, finding its own level. It was not measured, not dependent on the other's reaction. This is the nature of freedom in action. So practice this now, in your daily life. When someone speaks harshly, when a friend seems distant, when a stranger seems lost, offer kindness without the hidden thread of expectation. Simply meet the moment with warmth. Offer a gentle word without hoping for a smile. Give help without needing to be thanked. Notice the subtle shift within yourself when you release the demand for a response. Feel the lightness, the absence of strain. You are no longer holding the other person in a small box of your own making. You are simply being present with them, as you are present with your own breath. This is not about being passive, it is about being fully alive and free in the interaction. It is the natural expression of a heart that is unburdened. This practice is not about grand gestures. It is in the small moments, holding a door, listening without planning your reply, offering a cup of tea without waiting for praise. Each time you choose to give kindness without the expectation of return, you strengthen the flow of freedom within you. You dissolve the illusion that your kindness must be earned or reciprocated. You simply are the kindness, as your breath is simply the breath. The moment you notice the expectation arising, the thought that they should act differently, or that they should feel a certain way, let it go. Return to the simple presence of the moment and let compassion flow from that place. This compassion becomes your natural expression. Imagine the river meeting a rock, not with force, but with natural flow. It simply moves around the obstacle, carrying the same water, the same current, without fighting its presence. This is the essence of living without resistance. Freedom is not found in changing what is, but in meeting life exactly as it presents itself, moment by moment. When we say to ourselves, "This shouldn't be," a subtle tension arises within us. It's the sound of the inner struggle, the quiet clash between our expectation and reality. Feel it now, perhaps in your shoulders, your jaw, a tightness in the chest. That tension is the resistance itself. the very thing binding us. It's not the situation that causes the suffering, but the struggle against the situation. The spilled coffee on your desk, the delay in traffic, the words that didn't come out right. These are not the problem. The problem is the internal battle we wage against them. We clutch at a different reality, and in that clutching, we create a cage for ourselves. True freedom begins when we notice that clutching and choose to release it. Not through force, but through simple, gentle surrender. This is not resignation. It is an active choice to stop fighting the river and instead flow with it. The practice is as simple as noticing one small frustration right now. Perhaps it's the irritation at the slow checkout line, the frustration with a minor error in your work, or the annoyance of a sound outside your window. Instead of tightening further against it, take one slow breath. Feel the tension where it lives in your body. Then, with that breath, consciously say to yourself, "This is what is. I don't need to change it. I can meet it as it is." Let the frustration soften, not by denying it, but by holding it without resistance. See how the tightness in your shoulders eases just slightly. Feel the space that opens up within you when you stop pushing against the current. This small surrender is not about fixing anything external. It is about releasing the internal struggle that makes the external moment feel heavy. It is the direct experience of freedom within the very moment we thought was binding us. When you surrender the frustration of the slow line, you're not accepting poor service. You are releasing the inner storm about it. You are simply meeting the line as it is, without adding your demand for it to be different. This is the practice of living as freedom. It is not a grand achievement for some distant future, but the quiet, everyday choice to meet the next breath, the next sound, the next moment without the weight of resistance. The river doesn't stop flowing because of the rock. It simply flows differently, carrying the same essence. Your freedom is not lost in the moment. It is revealed when you stop fighting it. Notice the tension when you say this shouldn't be. Then, in that noticing, let it go. That single act of surrender, repeated in the smallest moments, dissolves the illusion of struggle. It is the direct path to meeting life with the open heart of compassion that flows without demand, as we saw in the previous chapter. This surrender is the essence of inner freedom.